Hi guys, this is Mike and this is the Boss DM-101, an analog bucket brigade stereo delay that got rave reviews from everyone that tested it really, including some pretty famous YouTubers. So I was watching those videos and the people there were so excited and so thrilled with this pedal that I was basically convinced to buy it. And I've had it for 2 weeks now and I played it almost every day, but I have to tell you, I feel like I wasn't really given the full picture in those videos. Some things were left unsaid, some things weren't mentioned, right? And I'm not saying that's deliberate, it's really not my place to say, but at the end of the day, this video will try to correct that, right? I will tell you about my experiences with this pedal, I will tell you about all the good things and all the bad things on it, because believe me, this pedal has a lot of flaws actually. And I'm doing that because I hope that at the end of this video you can make a better and more educated buying decision than I did, right? So let's do that after this. With two eyes. Okay, basically I have a couple of problems, a couple of gripes with this pedal, and some are bigger, some are smaller, some you might know actually, and some I bet you haven't heard before. But you know what, let's actually start with a problem or a gripe that you definitely know, but I'm still putting it in first place because I feel it kinda informs all the things that come afterwards, right? So here's number one. This pedal is expensive. Now, if this pedal was 200, 250, 300 bucks, like a Strymon pedal, you know, Strymon pedals are made in the USA with American labor, they use quality parts. If this pedal would be like a $300 pedal, I would say, you know what, go for it, at least try it out. Order it from a store that has a good return policy and try it out because it might be worth it, you might like it. Right? But at $500, it's pretty difficult for me to give out this recommendation because I kind of feel the price value isn't really there, especially with all the flaws that this pedal has, right? So that's my first gripe. And so let's go to the second one, which I admit is a minor gripe. This pedal does not have a true bypass. Now, I know, in the history of Boss pedals, we never had a Boss pedal that had a true bypass. And you know what? I totally trust Boss to have a good, clean-sounding, transparent buffer there, right? And to be fair, I don't hear any differences, I don't hear any sound degradation whenever this pedal is in line, right? But just because I don't hear that doesn't mean it's not there. And secondly, you know, I look at something like the Wampler Tumnus Deluxe, a $200 pedal that has this nice little switch on the right side that lets you actually choose between a buffered or a true bypass. And I'm thinking to myself, $200, right? And all the parts there, the true bypass, the buffer, the switch, the microchips that go maybe into that can't be more like 10, 15 bucks in production. Right? And so I realize, of course, it's Boss. Boss has no history with true bypass pedals, but at $500, I feel they could have given us the choice and not make the choice for us. And I actually commend Wampler and all those companies, a lot of delay pedals have that, where you can choose between a true bypass or a buffered bypass with trails, right? That's the thing. But Boss made the decision for us. The third minor gripe that I have with this pedal is this pedal does not have a stereo input. And I know, again, that's just something that will affect maybe 5% of players, right? Because let's face it, 90% of people or 95% will use this pedal in front of their one mono amp and that's it, or in the effects loop of their amp, right? But let's face it, there actually are players that have a stereo setup going on that use 2 amps, or maybe just people that are used to record their guitars in stereo, right? And maybe they invested, you know, big money for gorgeous sounding stereo pedals, I'll give you an example here, like the MXR Stereo Chorus, which sounds gorgeous in stereo, but basically those people can't use this pedal with the Boss DM-101, because again, Boss made the decision to not give us stereo inputs. Now, I'm not an engineer and I have no idea how much work would go into making stereo inputs on an all-analog bucket brigade delay pedal. Maybe if some engineers are out there, maybe you can chime in and leave a comment. I have no idea if they would have to double the chips. We have 8 bucket brigade chips built in. If they would have to double that to 16, I have no idea. But the matter of the fact is, that's kind of a shame. Also for people that would like to use this as an output gear piece in their studio, right? If you have like a drum kit and you would like to route that out through some output gear or this pedal, well, you can't do that really if it's stereo, right? So yeah, I feel that's a missed opportunity. Okay, so these were basically the minor gripes that only affect a fraction of the guitar playing population out there. But now let's talk about something that affects everyone that uses this pedal, right? So complaint number 4. If you look at this dial here, you see 12 different sound modes, or let's call them programs from now on, okay? 12 different programs. But unlike on digital delays, where you have different programs, where you have a tape emulation, you have your digital delay, you have your digital with mod, you have your chorus delay, you have your tape delay, your analog delay, your degradation delay, you have your science fiction delays, your helix delays, you know, all that stuff. And all of those engines or programs sound totally different. Basically on this pedal, all these 12 programs sound more or less identical. I mean, sure, there's a reflect setting that gives us more of a reverb sound, and there are some here that have more highs or more bass, you know, but basically it's like 12 flavors of one basic sound, right? It's like going to an ice cream shop that only sells chocolate ice cream, right? And he has 12 different flavors of chocolate. He has classic chocolate, dark chocolate, white chocolate, hazelnut chocolate, and so on, but he has no strawberry. No, sir. And he has no vanilla. Nope. And I know this is an analog pedal and it would be like a big challenge to make like totally different things on it. But you know what? Give me just 4 programs, or hell, give me just 3 programs, but make them distinct from each other. Make them different from each other, right? Because as it is now, I bet that most guitar players will find their 1 or 2 favorite programs. I know I have, and they will totally ignore all the rest. I know I do. Right? And that's kind of a shame because we actually paid for all these programs, right? Okay, my next gripe, and let's stay at this dial here. Whenever you change a program, there's a small delay, or let's say a pause or a break in the delays, which is a pain in the ass if you want to compare these sounds, right? I think, I'm not an engineer again, but to me it sounds like the guitar signal is flushed out of the bucket brigade chips before it can build up a new signal, right? So that's pretty annoying, especially because it's true for your presets that you can save in the memory, right? So if you are a guitar player that does a lot of live shows and you would like to use this live, and you have 2 sounds that you really like, and you wrote a song that has different delay parts, right? And you want to change the delay with the memory button. There will be a delay in the delay. There will be a break there, which might sound awkward when there's suddenly nothing there, right? So I would actually advise against changing presets within a song. You can do it in the song breaks when there's nothing going on. But in a song, I think that's not good. And again, I'm not an engineer. Maybe there's no other way to do that, but still, it's there and I wanted you to know it, right? And here is how that sounds like. Another thing that makes comparisons pretty difficult is the fact that each one of these programs has another maximum delay time. Now, don't quote me on that, but I think the classic mode here goes up to 1200 milliseconds, right? So let's say you have a song, a nice and slow song, and you tap in something like 62, right? Okay, so it's not perfect, but it's pretty close, right? Fair enough? We have 62 tapped in, right? So you are in the classic setting, and now you say to yourself, hey, you know what? This is dark chocolate. I would really like to know how white chocolate tastes like or sounds like in this instance. So let me quickly go to the vintage mode, right? And look what happens with the tap tempo. Can you see? It basically disappears to a much faster tempo, right? And that's because, believe it or not, the vintage setting, the vintage program only has a maximum delay time of 300 milliseconds. And that's the case on each and every one of these programs. Each and every one of these programs has a different delay time, right? And first of all, I don't really understand why that is. And I mean, if there are like technical reasons, limitations of some kind, so be it, But they could have just ordered these delays so that, the delays with similar delay times are next to each other, right? That would have been really cool and helpful, especially with the whole tap tempo thing, because now it's totally random. Right? You have your 1200 delay, your 300, I think this is like 800, and so on and so on. There's really no structure there, right? So I think this is just bad design actually, and yeah. Okay, my next gripe is basically about the whole stereo thing, right? So they advertised this as being an analog bucket brigade stereo delay, right? And in fact, we have 6 programs here starting at the reflect, going all the way up to the pattern setting that are supposed to be stereo, right? And admittingly, they do sound a little bit wider than on the mono setting. But the only 2 programs that we have that really are what I consider a stereo delay, where your guitar sits perfectly in the middle and you have the repeats on the left and the right side, is the pan and the pattern setting, right? And out of those 2, the pattern setting is pretty much unusable because I think the maximum delay time there is 300 milliseconds. So basically, every day that I play, I'm only at the pan setting, and that's my favorite setting because it's the only one that's long enough, that's slow enough, and that actually gives me a nice stereo spread. And I think, to advertise this as a big stereo delay and then just have like 2 sounds that have like a really wide sounding stereo spread is a little bit ridiculous. Let's quickly go through all 6 stereo delays. Okay, my next gripe is, if you are a fan of absolutely noiseless operation, this is not the pedal for you. And again, I do understand this is an analog bucket brigade pedal, and that's just in the technology that there is a little bit of noise. I get that. And I admit, I think it sounds cleaner than the Memory Man that I tested a couple of years ago. This pedal tames the noise pretty good, but there's still noise. And I mean, I just want you to know that, right? The noise is actually kind of pleasant. It sounds a little bit like static from an old TV, like white noise basically, mixed with, do you know the feeling when you try to sleep late at night and it's raining outside and you can still, although your windows are closed, you can still hear the rain through your windows? Kind of like a mix between those 2 things, right? So it's not too bad, but I still wanted you to know there is noise on this pedal. Noise test. Okay, my next gripe will be with the delay volume, or let's say volume control, right? So I have to admit, I actually like what they did there. Even if you turn this control all the way up to the maximum, your clean guitar signal is never getting lowered, right? So it always stays the same, which is great. And actually, I feel that setting it to maximum, especially when you play alone and you really want a nice, lush, big delay sound, that's perfectly fine, right? And if you record like guitars in a mix, I think 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock will be perfectly fine, right? However, having said that, I would have loved for this pedal to have a kill dry function. I would have loved for this pedal to give us 100% wet sound if we want that. Because there are people that will use this or try to use this as output gear when recording. Let's say you have a snare drum and you would really like to have your snare drum with a little bit of real analog bucket brigade delay. Basically, you can't do that because there's no kill dry function here, right? You will always, when you route something through this machine, you will will always hear your original signal. Again, I don't think that would have been so difficult to include here, but they simply decided not to do that. And kind of like my last gripe with this pedal, for me personally, that's the main one. The thing that annoys me the most actually is we have no way to alter the sound of the repeats. There's no way to change the tone. We don't have a tone control here. And I understand, on a digital pedal, we have a tone control and you can totally change the sound of the repeats being ultra bright, or you can darken them up totally, right? And I understand that maybe they didn't want to go that way, but just give me like a tone knob on a guitar, something totally analog, maybe brighten the repeats a little bit and give me something to darken them, because as it is now, this is a totally dark pedal. It's a totally dark sound. You have to realize that. And maybe that's even why I play on maximum all the time, because I want to hear, the repeats properly, and I really can't because they're so dark, right? So again, I think a tone control would have been perfect for this pedal. But yeah, it is what it is again. And that's Boss, and that's their $500 analog delay for you. And now we're finished with my gripes. And I bet you're sitting there saying to yourself, well, this guy just doesn't like this pedal, or it's not the right pedal for him, or he's a hater, right? And I'm here to tell you that's not the case, because there are actually a couple of things I really do like about this pedal, and I want to be fair and tell you those as well, right? 3 things actually I like about this pedal. Right? So first of all is a small one, but for me it's important. This pedal comes with a power supply in the box, right? But you don't actually have to use the power supply. So if you have like a multi-power supply on your pedal board, right, that powers a lot of pedals, if you have isolated outputs, you set the thing to 9 volts and you're good to go. This is a standard 9 volt Boss jack, right? Polarities, minus inside, plus on the outside, and you're good to go, right? And there's no disturbance, there are no no noise, no nothing. It works properly as it should. So that's great. I like that. I also like, the second thing that I really like is the whole layout, or let's say the usability on this pedal is awesome, I think. They did a really good job on that. It's basically plug and play, right? You plug in your guitar, you power up your amp, you have this pedal here, you select the program, you tap in the tap tempo, you dial in a little bit of mod, or you don't, and you're good to go basically, right? There are no like hidden functions, there are no editors that you have to use to make it sound good. There is not even a tone control, right? So you're very focused on your playing basically, and I really like it. It's pretty plug and play. I mean, to be fair, we do have like 1 or 2 hidden function. For example, if you press this button here long, you basically lock the tab divisions, right? So you can change them. But to be fair, why would you lock your subdivisions? Makes no sense, right? So let's unlock them again. The other thing, I guess the only time when I actually did consult the manual was for the variation control here, which actually does something different for all of these 12 programs, right? But then again, this pedal is so clear in what it does that you actually can just trust your ears, right? Hit a chord, turn the damn thing and listen to what it does, right? And it's easy peasy, and I really like that, right? So that was my second thing that I like about this pedal. And my third thing that I like about this pedal. Wait, before I tell you the last thing that I like, here's another thing that I like, and that is the self-oscillation of this pedal. Listen. And my third thing that I like about this pedal, and I think that's actually paramount, and it's paramount for all guitar effects, is the sound. Because, right, I'm telling you something now, a little secret, a little insider secret. So I'm currently working on a big delay shootout between 8 different delay pedals, right? This will be one of them. This is the only analog pedal in this shootout, right? And, the other 7 are high quality brands. Everyone knows them. They're pretty expensive. We have pedals from Walrus Audio. We have 2 Strymons. We have the Halo from Keeley, so higher priced stuff, right? And privately, I already made a little shootout for myself, basically, where I tested this analog pedal to the analog settings of these digital delays. And to be honest, there's really no comparison. There's really no comparison. This pedal just sounds so rich and lush and full. And I'm sorry to use such a corny word. I don't really like it, but it sounds so real, right? In comparison to the emulations, that's like the only reason why I'm still clinging on to this pedal, to this $500 one sound pedal with all these flaws, right? And so here's my plan for the next 2 weeks, because I still have 2 weeks to go before I can send it back and get my money back. So I will play it every day. I will do a couple of shootouts. And at the end of those 2 weeks, I hope I can justify to myself, I guess, if I really want to spend $500 for a pedal that does one thing, that has one sound. But man, what a sound it is, right? And so I hope you join me on my travels through Delay Pedal Land. I hope you subscribe. I hope you hit the notification bell. I hope there was something there that was educational for you, that you didn't know, that lets you make a better, buying decision, I hope. Let me know if the video was helpful to you. I always like to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think of this pedal. Maybe you have experience with it. Let me know what you think of it. And yeah, again, please like, please subscribe, and please hit the notification bell. And I'll see you next time. Wish you a nice evening or day or morning wherever you are in the world. Have a good one. Bye.